Hey folks, Mackenzie Lambert here, host for Mac in the Movies, back with another installment of What a Year, joined here by my good friend and colleague John Cleveland.
Hi everybody.
This year we're going to go look at, I think, a really good year.
Fantastic year.
1988. Josh, I remember, as a little bit of a plug here, Filmtonomy, new movie online news site. They just did their series for 1988 in film, and I contributed to it.
Oh, cool.
An article on Fish Called Wanda.
That's in my honorable mentions.
Yep. So
many good movies this year.
This was actually one of the tougher ones for me to go through.
Yeah, if this was a top 50, I think I'd still have extra, to be honest with you. This is a solid year for film.
All right, so we are going to go ahead and share our top 10 films from that year, and plus some honorable mentions. I kept it down to 3 honorable mentions.
I did not.
All right. Change things up a little bit. I'll probably go ahead and go first this time.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Wow. Ooh, I got to go last.
Yeah.
Bold.
Let's see how we measure up for this one. All right, for 1988, for my honorable mentions, my first one is Brain Damage from director Frank Henenlotter.
It's a fun little film.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you've got great horror host Zach Hurley as Almer, which is just...
Yeah, that's just a cool nod. Yeah. I almost makes me wonder, why does no one ever get Elvira to voice something? You know, it's like, But yeah, no, that movie's fun and weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and in a fun way. It's weird in a fun way.
It's like, come on, this is the guy who gave us Basket Case and Frankenhooker. The guy knows how to have fun with horror films.
I will say that I think Brain Dead is his best executed film. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say it's better than Basket Case or anything, but I think it's his best executed film.
Yep. All right, my next honorable mention, Maniac Cop from director Bill Lustig.
It's my favorite movie starring Robert Z'Dar and Bruce Campbell.
You got Tom Atkins also. So
you're not wrong.
No, you got the original Shaft. You've got William Smith. You've got so many. This is like a gathering of some of the best cult actors around.
Actually, fun side note too. If you pay close attention, in the one scene as a reporter is Sam Raimi.
Yep. And his brother would play a reporter in Maniac Cop 3, so you got a nice little connection there.
Yep.
And, I mean, talking about a movie that would be ripe for a remake.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I'd love to see a remake. I mean, it's...
Jordan Peele's Maniac Cop.
Yeah. It'd be interesting how they take it, because, I don't want to get into too many details. And Maniac Cop 1 and 2 are very similar to, the Friday the 13th series, where, well, not the first one, but, between Friday the 13th 2 and 3 and, 6 and 7.
Yep. Human Jason, then Zombie
Jason. Yeah. So, it's an interesting story there. I will also say, it's a better, for a movie called Maniac Cop, it's better than it's aiming higher than it needed to. No. It's trying a little to be a little...
You got Larry Cohen, so, yeah.
Just so we're clear, I've seen some other Larry Cohens. That doesn't necessarily remain true, but he does at least try.
And my last honorable mention... one of my favorites of this franchise, Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood.
That is my favorite of the franchise. And it hurt me that it's not in my top 10.
I mean, this is like a perfect little Universal monster mash where it's Jason versus Carrie.
Yeah.
That's all. If you're not sold on that, yeah.
It's Jason versus Carrie. It's Kane Hodder's first appearance. It's the coolest looking Jason, all deadified. It's
the sleeping bag kill.
Yeah, every time I tell somebody that's my favorite, they're like, "What? That's the stupid one where he faces the psychic chick." I'm like, kind of, but no.
Terry Kaiser.
And more importantly, here, he kills Bernie from Weekend at Bernie. So, fun fact. With that being said, my copy of Part 7 is signed by Terry Kaiser. Nice. I'm standing in line with everyone else has a Weekend at the Birdies DVD to sign, and I've got this. He goes, "You're the first person I've had signed me to sign this in years." Took a photo of my phone and everything. It was great.
It just seems like a generally cool guy, too, Terry Kaiser.
He is a cool guy. But no, I love that movie. It's I just love it.
And directed by John Carl Buechler, who is just a wizard of makeup effects.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Perfect guy for the...
Perfect guy.
All right, now for my main ones. Number 10, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
It's so great. It's such a perfect comedy horror film. It's just, I love it to death.
And this is just the perfect crowd movie. I remember first seeing this at a sleepover with a friend of mine in grade school, and then months ago I got to see, or actually no, a couple of years ago I got to see it at Thursday Night Terrors on the big screen with a movies theater packed with people, and it's just such great. The people were just really into the movie.
It knows exactly what it is. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's just gory enough to make the gorehounds happy, but not too gory where it's going to necessarily tick too many people off. It's a movie called Killer Clowns from Outer Space. If you walked into the theater and you bought a ticket or you bought it on DVD, you knew what you were getting into. It's perfectly balanced, and I think you nailed it. It's a great movie if you're at a Halloween party and you need some spooky movie to put on the background that no one's going to really pay attention to, but once in a while you can all like, wasn't that fun? It's a great film for that.
All right, my number 9. For me, this is probably one of the greatest parody movies ever made. I'm Gonna Get You, Sucka, from director Keenan Ivory Wayans. Naked Gun meets blaxploitation.
Yeah, I when I was going through looking up all the movies from 1988, I saw that. I'm like, Maxon had that in his list.
And just the one scene where the little kid's giving his book report, he's just Abraham Lincoln pull white trash.
It's probably. Do I want to say it's the best of any of those? Like,
I want to say maybe not as good as Hot Shots or one of the later Naked Gun entries or Airplane, but it's definitely in the top 5.
It's in the discussion of that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're Hot Shots, and there are other parody. Yeah, you're right. Now that I'm thinking about it, there's a lot of really good parody films. But yeah, it's in the discussion. Yeah. It's in the discussion.
All right, number 8, Waxwork, directed by Anthony Hickox.
Huh.
Yep.
Would not have pegged you for putting Waxwork in your top 10.
No, I just love the whole idea of these wax exhibits just being portals to movies. I wish they showed the Invisible Man one. That's the one that they didn't show. They showed Night of the Living Dead. They had the Marquis de Sade. It's like, why? What's my favorite monster? You're not going to show him
because it's hard. It's a hard sell to sell somebody who's not there. Mm-hmm. So, and at the time, you didn't have CGI to have something floating that isn't on a string. Yeah. So.
But no, still, and of course, a little bit of trivia. It's the son of the guy who directed Theater of Blood with Vincent Price.
Oh, okay.
Once you realize that, it just makes total sense.
Yeah.
All right, number 7, Beetlejuice, directed by Tim Burton.
Great film.
Yep. Michael Keaton.
Talk about perfect casting. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of people in that movie. Alec Baldwin.
Yes,
hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Jenny Davis.
Jenny Davis is hilarious. A lot of stuff. It's also a movie that's like, it's really hard to pin down because, like, is it a horror film? No. Is it a family film? No. Is it a comedy? No. You know, it's got this, and I will just say, I love, to this day, my favorite scene is where they all get possessed and sing at the the Deo scene. Occasionally, I'll just, me and one of my friends will actually sing that. Like, we know the whole song, and we'll sing it in, like, a public place. And occasionally, people will, like, chime in. Like, that is a well-known scene. Mm-hmm. So.
Classic Tim Burton.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Number 6, A Fish Called Wanda, from director Charles Crichton, and you've got Michael Palin, John Cleese from Monty Python. You've got Jamie Lee Curtis, Kevin Kline, at probably like one of his funniest performances I've ever seen from him, as the, I guess, ugly American Otto, because that's just the best way to describe him.
Because Fish Called Wanda ended up in my honorable mentions, and I think mostly because I actually prefer Fierce Creatures, which is. If you like A Fish Called Wanda, you're gonna like Fierce Creatures and Back and Forth. It's very similar in the not the story, but the jokes that are being made and stuff. So I think that's the only reason it got pushed out, because that's a great film.
And I'm sure for all the oversensitivities today, the Ken with the stutter would ruffle a lot of feathers.
Probably.
But just the one scene that Michael Palin and John Cleese share, the Catholic Cowboys Hotel, is one of the. Rarely have I laughed as hard at a scene as much as I did at that one.
Fair enough.
All right, number 5, Scrooge, from director Richard Donner, starring Bill Murray. You've got, which Glover was it? It's the one from Gremlins 2. I can never remember. I think it's Donald Glover, I think his name is.
I don't remember.
But no, he was, Donald Glover. You've got Charlie from Charlie's Angels. He plays the zombie that is the Jacob Marley type character.
It's just a great movie. If this, not in my top 10, on my honorable mentions, but if this was a top 10 best Christmas movies, I'd be right there with you.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I think when we did our Christmas movies
I think it did.
Yep.
I think it did.
Yep. All right, number 4. Just one of the great Carpenter films, They Live.
Yeah.
Starring Roddy Piper.
I just so wish he had just that somehow Vince McMahon had not gotten his tendrils back into him and he had just gone on to more movies. Yep. Dude, Princess Darkness would have been so amazing if Roddy Piper was the lead.
Can you imagine, would it have worked if Roddy Piper was Jack Burton?
No. Because that was perfect casting.
Yeah.
Now, Snake Plissken, however.
That I don't think Piper can be that serious.
I don't need him to be. I mean, first off, I disagree with you. Do you just not watch wrestling in the 80s at all? Completely disagree that he couldn't have been that serious. However, he doesn't need to just stick with Carpenter either, but I just really honestly believe he had, that film puts out the clear that he had the chops to go on to bigger and better things in Hollywood. But just not focusing on him only. Let's talk about the film. Keith David, and to be honest with you, Robbie and Keith are the thing that carried that movie for me. It's Meg Foster's good, but not, if you replace her, I wouldn't care. For me, it's the what they're talking about. It's the plot and the script. It's almost a weird remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers in a weird way.
Yeah.
The lies underneath us all, like around us, the true intentions of those in power.
Subliminal
messaging, advertising, consumerism, capitalism. Like, everything is on trial in that movie, and I love it. And how people keep remaking Halloween and won't remake They Live is they remade The Fog. Like, what? You're just throwing darts and not hitting what you should be. This is the movie that should be remade, because this is the movie where today it's got a bold new statement to say.
And I mean, even today, even if it wasn't a remake, but it was like, I guess, like the continuation they're doing with the new Halloween film.
Sure.
Like, absolutely, you could have done that. Like, you could have had the aliens suppress the revolution, and now we have a new generation that's trying to do that revolution.
Yeah, I'd be fine with it if it's not a remake. It's just that weird sequel thing they've been doing. That's fine.
Who's charismatic enough to kind of be like the Roddy Piper surrogate?
The Rock.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Though again, kind of like but Piper sells an everyman better. The Rock doesn't. You don't look at that man and assume he is like any other. So I mean, I could sit here. That would be a whole side discussion, and we're not. This isn't a They Lives episode. So let's just move on. And
although that could be something we can do in the future, like we can.
I don't disagree with you. I would very much enjoy that, because that movie needs to be talked about more.
All right, number 3, Mississippi Burning, from director Alan Parker.
It's in my honorable mentions. It's a great film.
And it's like, this is the movie that sticks with me just because people act like, this whole civil rights movement and this horrible tragedy that happened, it was, decades ago. No, it wasn't. There are people still alive today that were alive when that was going on. So,
and also the movie's just great character work. Like, it's there's that, because there's the courtroom drama movie. There's this is of that like genre that was, I don't know, it was like late 80s, early 90s was kind of big, where it's not courtroom. The end of the movie is the third act's courtroom. First act is usually the event that happened. Second act is all investigation.
Yep.
And I mean, it's still happening today, and I'm sure it happened before that too, but like there was a lot of movies that were made in that, and Mississippi Burning is one of the best.
Yep. And you've got Gene Hackman, who's just basically channeling Popeye Doyle, but it's like a southern version of it.
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe is straight-laced as you'll probably ever see him.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, he's William Dafoe. It's like asking James Spader, can you just be normal? Oh, you're not paying attention to me. Okay, cool. William, could you be normal? Please?
And for all you horror buffs out there, keep an eye out, because Tobin Bell, Jigsaw himself, is in here as well as one of the FBI agents.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I forgot about that.
All right. Okay, number 2. The 2 and 1 were tough, but at the same time, number 2 is nostalgia. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
Guaranteed to be on my list.
And a technical marvel.
To this day.
Yes.
To this day. People are like, Jurassic Park's got the best special effects of all time. No, it doesn't.
No.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yes. And
also terrifying.
Yes.
The judge. Terrifying.
Remember me, Eddie.
He didn't even need to take the glasses off and be the voice. Before that, he's just an imposing. Christopher Lloyd again.
Yep.
He just is a marvel of a... Next to Gary Oldman, I honestly think that man might be the most chameleon of all actors, it seems. He's just... They need some kind of Lon Chaney award for ability to be a different human in different roles. But, like, no, everything... The movie's amazing. All the actors are amazing. The special effects or animations are all amazing. Like, it still holds up. It's still a movie. It's a movie where, like, I've never met somebody who didn't like it. And that's a rarity. There's always some contrarian who's like, who likes the Godfather 2? They're stupid. That movie's dumb. There's always somebody who's... But that movie... Shawshank Redemption and like 3 others, 2 or 3 others, are the only ones I've never met somebody who didn't like. If you don't like that movie, comment below and try to explain what's wrong with it or why you don't like it.
And, Zemeckis, he's the guy, people say James Cameron is the one that's forward-thinking as far as movie-making techniques. No, I think Robert Zemeckis is, because you look at Back to the Future, you've got Who Framed Roger Rabbit, he did that, I feel like
Zemeckis...
Forrest Gump.
I feel like Zemeckis is the middle point between James Cameron and... who did all the kids movies in the
Chris Columbus?
Yes, in Chris Columbus. He's got that weird middle ground between I'm trying to imagine what the next step in filmmaking is in special effects versus I also want to make a movie for kids that adults can like too, but not because there's wink wink, there's some adult jokes in there, like SpongeBob or something like that. But generally because this is a truly good film and not too cheesy or anything.
Zemeckis did Forrest Gump, and just the effects in that movie are amazing. He also does that famous Beowulf and Christmas Carol and Polar Express, like humanoid animation, which is...
I wasn't going to bring those up.
Someone had to. I figure it may as well be me.
Sure.
All right. Number 1, what other choice is there other than Die Hard?
Yeah.
There is no
the greatest action film of all time.
Yep.
And I will die on that hill because I have Die Hard to back me up. Like, it just is.
A great protagonist. A fantastic antagonist.
A protagonist who utterly changed how we view protagonists. Like, he's not... before him, we got Arnold. We have Stallone. We have... Let's cram...
You can buy him as the everyman.
Yeah, he is the everyman. Yes, he is superhuman in the guise of he's being put into a situation that no human would ever be asked to do, and arguably he would have bled out from those feet. But like, one
of the greatest villains of all time.
Yeah, another. Yeah, I think he was on our great villains list.
One of the greatest henchmen.
Yeah. Now, which one is the guy still the candy bar?
Yeah,
of course. No, it's a great film. It's an interesting film. It's got a great twist at the end. Everything about that movie is great. It's another one where I really don't know if I could say I would change this part. It's just a great film. It's also it's because it's tied to it. It's one of those like everyone watches around Christmas.
Reginald Bell Johnson.
Yeah.
And, how much money do you think they've made just from the ho, 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 now I have a machine gun shirts?
Actually, I have a buddy, that's what he likes to wear at, like,
ugly sweater parties.
At ugly sweaty parties is he wears that. But, the other thing I was pointing out, and I think I mentioned this before when we brought it up, is, so if you go to LA, to Nakatomi Tower, which is a real building, the first floor is just it's just a museum for Die Hard.
Nice.
Which is amazing. It's something I've always thought about doing, but... Yeah, no, Die Hard is just a fantastic film. I've got nothing negative to say about it. It's great.
Me neither.
Again, another one. If you don't like it, go ahead and tell me why. That one I just
you're gonna need a lot of ammo to back yourself up.
Yeah,
on that
seriously.
One.
So,
all right. So, that's my selection for 1988.
All right, go in second. I don't know what to do on this. What do I do with my hands? All right, so I'll drop a couple honorable mentions. So I'm just gonna. These are not in any order. I just wanted to make sure I mentioned them. We got Child's Play, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, Rain Man, again Friday the 13th Part 7, Big, Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. I like it. I know a lot of people don't. Akira came out that year. Killer Clowns, as you mentioned, Mississippi Burning, Fish Called Wanda, Naked Gun from Files of Police Squad, Twins, The Lair of the White Worm, Bloodsport. How Bloodsport didn't land in my top 10, I'll never know. Young Guns, The Great Outdoors, Return of the Living Dead 2, Earth Girls Are Easy, The Brain, The Land Before Time. You mentioned Scrooge. Lady in White, it's a lesser-known horror film. The Presidio, Above the Law, Steven Seagal before he was a joke. Gorillas in the Mist, The Seventh Sign, Caddyshack 2, The Unnameable, another great lesser-known horror film. Watchers, Paper House, an amazing horror film.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of laughing at the idea of Caddyshack 2, The Unnameable.
That's fair. See, I like Caddyshack 2 because I think it does what a sequel in that a comedy sequel needs to do: push it to the extreme. Paper House, what I was saying before, though, an amazing lesser-known horror film that is really intense and super hard to get a DVD copy of. Police Story 2, another film that if you had told me Police Story 2, I'd be like, obviously it's in my top 10. I know it's crazy that it's not. Such a good action and martial arts film. Jack's Black, a really weird movie that it's hard to explain why it works, but it does, about a time traveling or... It's James Spader as Jack the Ripper, and I don't really know how to go into more details than that.
All right.
In present day.
I mean, I can still buy it.
It's weird and it shouldn't work, but it does. 18 again. Probably the best body swap. Yeah, probably the best body swap movie in history, or one of them, in my opinion. It's hilarious. The Hero and the Terror, probably one of Norris's best films. And Deadbeat at Dawn, which is a low-budget, independent, action grunge movie that if you like action-y and grungy, like this wasn't obviously made for a lot of money. These guys love action and they want to make some brutal stuff. It's super brutal.
I know that was actually one of the movies featured on the last drive-in, so
yes,
it's got a little bit of a new audience now.
Yeah,
so.
But it's a great film. But either way, that were just my honorable mentions. And I obviously had a lot.
Yeah.
So, try to go through these. You're going to hear a couple that you've heard already, but there's some that to be honest with you, I'm really surprised you didn't have. All right, number 10, Beetlejuice.
Yep.
We've gone over it.
Oh, yeah.
James Cameron's Beetlejuice. That would be weird. No, Beetlejuice, Tim Burton. It's just a great film. Number 9, one of my, I'd say probably my second or third favorite zombie movie of all time, The Serpent and the Rainbow.
And that's traditional zombies.
These are Haitian voodoo zombies, yes. Just great film. Number 8 is one of my favorite adventure films of all time, The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Oh,
So many good actors, so many good characters. I'll say not like it's a very absurd movie.
And who better than Terry Gilliam?
Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. This is a Terry Gilliam movie, so I shouldn't need to go further. It's absurd, it's imaginative, and it's crazy.
And Robin Williams is the Moon Man.
Not according to the credits. He's not. He's also that's the Emperor.
Oh, the Emperor.
The Emperor's
okay.
severed head.
Gotcha.
That's that. If you look at the credits, he's not listed as Robin Williams.
Really?
He did not want his name attached to it because he didn't want people going, "This is a Robin Williams movie."
Okay.
He also wasn't that famous at the time either. So, number 7, and if you know me, you know how crazy this is. That this is this low. It's They Live.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I love that film. It's John Carpenter. It's amazing. We just talked about it, so I'm not going to go into details, but like it's great. Just a fantastic film. Number 6, one of my favorite fantasy films of all time, Willow.
That's you know what? I know a lot of people love Lord of the Rings. I know they love that highbrow fantasy, but for me, I love the cheesy 80s fantasy. I love Willow. I love Krull. I love just the... Yeah.
See, for me, like it's definitely like lowbrow per se. It's definitely more comedic, or it has more comedic elements, but for me, it's just... If you went to top 10 favorite fantasy films of all time, it's definitely in there. Right. It's just a great film. It's fun. Val Kilmer... Not his best work, that's Tombstone, but like one of his best roles.
Warwick Davis actually able to act as himself and not as a...
Yeah, he's not a character. He's not forced to be a leprechaun. He's not forced to be... He can just
He's not an Ewok.
Yeah, he's not an Ewok. Great movie. Some of the special effects, mostly for the brownies, those little creatures, don't age, they don't work as well, but almost everything else does. The transformation scenes with the wizards or the sorceresses...
And I have fond memories of the Nintendo game also.
I don't remember playing it.
Oh, okay.
Number 5, and this is another one, a list where 2, 3, 4, and 5. Ask me in 5 minutes, it might be a different order, but I'm pretty sure this is the order I want them in. Number 5, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, for all the reasons we just talked about. It's just fantastic. Yeah. Every time I watch it, there's something new I enjoy about it in a different, beautiful way. It's great. Also, I will say, there are a lot of jokes Patty cake. How in the world did you get that around censors? Film noir cartoons. I don't know.
Is that a rabbit in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
Actual rabbit in his pocket. Wait, are you telling me you could have taken off those cuffs at any time? No.
Only when it was funny.
Only when it was funny. Number 4, one of my favorite horror films of all time, Pumpkinhead. Atmospheric. It's probably because I'm from like a small rural town that I really love. It pushes it over the edge for me, and it stars Lance Hendrickson, one of my favorite actors of all time.
Stan Winston in the director's seat.
For the only time.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, the monster just clearly by the same Sam Winston, clearly by the same guy who made the Alien from I think. But like such an originally interesting looking monster.
It has a nice lore to it.
It has a great lore to it. Its atmosphere is great. Its setting is great. The acting is great. It's also interesting because it doesn't set up. It sets up the heroes of the movie as flawed deeply, and I think that's interesting. Just a great film. If you're a horror fan, you've seen it. I don't know any horror fans who haven't. And if you haven't, you need, especially around Halloween, you need to go see it. It's a great film. Number 3, and this was a hard if this was back and forth between this, but I wrote it down this way, so we're going this way. Number 3, Coming to America. I watched it as a kid, way before I was way too young to be watching it, but I watched it. It's Eddie Murphy's. Beverly Hills Cop is probably his best role. This is his second, and that's an arguable point.
Yeah.
Coming to America is great. It's such an original idea. It's so interesting, and like kudos for being able to have a film in 1988, which it's more common now than then. They're almost entirely a black cast.
Yeah. Yeah, for all the people that made a big deal about Black Panther, Coming to America did this, 30 years earlier?
And way better.
Yeah.
But no, it's just a hilarious movie. It's fantastic. And it's another one where I've probably seen that movie 30 times. Yep. It's great.
And just how it does a great job of Arsenio Hall and Eddie Murphy playing multiple characters, not just the main ones.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie Murphy's kind of known for it, but yeah, they play so many, and it's actually funny because I think I watched that movie 10 times before I realized that they're everyone in the barbershop.
Yep.
Except the one guy, for whatever reason. Yeah, they're literally every single person in that barbershop. It's crazy. What is this, Velvet? This is nice. Including the white guy, which is hilarious. The Jewish white guy in the barbershop is played by Arsenio Hall, and that convincingly. So, just great, hilarious movie. Number 2, one of the greatest comedies of all time, in my opinion, and it's number 2 only because of how good number 1 is. Spoiler alert, you should have figured out who number 1 is. It's Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Michael Caine at his comedic best. Not a man known for comedy, but a man who could clearly pull it off. And Steve Martin at, I'm going to say, his best, and that gets over the jerk and a couple other things, and I know that's hard for people, but I honestly think this is it's incredibly well written. And it's incredibly well acted.
And the girl they chase after, too, I can't think of her name offhand, but she was in Tracy. She was in What About Bob?
She's in a lot of stuff. Yeah, I think wasn't that Martin's wife at the time? Wasn't he
possibly
for her? Because she's in a lot of his movies. Because he's also in Sergeant Bilko with him.
All right.
I think that they're married. Regardless, she's also hilarious. But I mean, if you've never seen it, because I remember when it was told to me. I was at a friend's house, and his mom is one of the people who got me into movies. And we're hanging out, and she goes, "Oh, I'm going to put on Dirty Rotten Scoundrels." And I'm like, "I've never heard of that. What is that?" And she goes, "Oh, it's 1988, Steve Martin and Michael Caine." And I'm like,
Caine.
I don't really want to watch a movie with a British. I'm like, I'm not really in the mood. This doesn't sound like something I'm going to enjoy. She's like, "Tell you what, just watch the movie. If you don't like it, you can choose the next movie you watch or something. Whatever. But just give it a chance." So I watched it. I fell in love. It is literally one of my favorite comedies of all time. It is so funny. The premise is Steve Martin is a gigolo, not a gigolo. He's a con man, and he's a confidence man. He's just thrifting women as he travels through Europe, but he's doing it for like, hey, he's trying to convince her to like, hey, you should buy me, he convinces a woman to buy him dinner. Mm-hmm. Whereas Michael Caine is the exact same thing, but he's a playboy. He owns a mansion. He gets women out of, like, princesses out of millions. And they stumble upon each other, and they make a gentleman's bet that, hey, you'll teach me, Steve Martin, like, because it's weird to think that Steve Martin's the younger man in this. He basically teaches them, like, hey, why don't you teach me, and I'll take my learnings and go elsewhere. But once he learns the craft of con man, he doesn't want to leave because the pickings are really good around here. So they have a gentleman's bet around this ketchup heiress. It's not Heinz, but like the Heinz ketchup heiress who's in town. Whoever can convince her to give them any amount of money, any at all, first one to do so gets to stay, and the other person has to leave town. And it's just hilarious. The stuff they go through, the stuff they pull, that just. I would have loved if they were in like 10 more movies together. The play they have on each other is just great. They're one of the best comedy duos of all time, if you ask me.
Nice.
And number one, because of course it is Die Hard.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I got nothing else to say we didn't already say. It's fantastic in every form. It's one of the best, if not the greatest action film of all time, which is huge. It's like... I don't know what else to say.
This was the descriptor for so many action movies like Speed. Oh, it's Die Hard on a bus.
On a boat, yeah.
Passenger 57, Die Hard on a plane. Yeah. Under Siege, Die Hard on a boat.
Yeah, it set a template that is still being repeated. I mean, there's how many Die Hards are it created a series. How many Die Hards are there?
I think we're at 5.
Yeah.
Because the last one was Good Day to Die Hard.
Yeah, and they're making a new one out here. So.
Oh no, wait, Live Free or Die Hard? I don't know. There's
Die Hard 2, which is in the
William Sadler?
William
Western
Sadler.
New York's own William Sadler.
Western New York's own William Sadler. It's just Die Hard in an airport, which is still cool. I really enjoy 2. 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance with Sam Jackson.
And don't forget Scar.
And Scar. Then a big gap, and then there's Die Hard. Live Free or Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Which is Die Hard against hackers.
Somehow they're able to
Timothy
make a monster
Oliphant.
explode.
Yeah.
It does make sense.
I don't care. I'm a big fan of that movie. Like, Die Hard's another series where those 4 at least. 2 is probably the weakest in that, but I really do also like 2. But like 1, 3, and 4 are really difficult for me to put in order of like. I end up going 1 is first, but I feel that a lot of that is nostalgia more than. So it's but I really love that series. 5 is weak. Admittedly, it's Die Hard in Russia. Mostly because of 1 or 2 key scenes that I think they shouldn't have included. But it's the 5th in a series, and I can't think of too often I say, the best film in the series is the 5th one. That's when they really hit this right. So I give it a thing. But if the next one's amazing, hey, it still ends well, and we get 1 low point, let's say. So it's just a great movie. It spawned a great series. I'm pretty sure that Bruce Willis stopped acting after that. He's pretty much just been John McClane after that.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, even in the Red films, which I actually quite enjoy.
He's John McClane. Like, he's still, like, but that's the thing, like, and it's perfectly fine if you want to do that as an actor. I got kudos. I wish I could accomplish that. I'm just saying, like, that's the role he stuck with. Before that, Hudson Hawk is a comedy. He's a buffoon in that. He does before, because that's the other thing people forget. If you're older than me, I guess you would know this. He was a comedic, romantic lead.
Moonlighting, right?
Yeah, before Die Hard. So like when you walked into the theater when Die Hard first came out, you were like, "Wait, this isn't going to work. This is going to be some action film with this quirky comedy." It's kind of like when, let's go watch Philadelphia. Tom Hanks is hilarious.
Or let's go see Batman with Mr. Mom.
Yeah, Michael Keaton. Yeah, that guy's just been in actually, it's a really good because a lot of romantic comedies. Oh wait, yeah. So just a solid film. Great acting, great writing, great everything. Great film. So
1988, hell of a year.
Fantastic year for film. One of the best I've ever seen.
I think that's going to wrap up this episode. Let us know if there's any years in particular you want us to cover. Because,
yeah, seriously. Yeah. Please don't do this year. I mean, we can do it. The year's almost over. Yeah. But, like...
2020 is going to be a screwed year. That's
yeah. That's another rule. We'll get 10.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to like the 10th pick, I think. Yeah.
No.
But you'd be surprised, though, with how much digital stuff that there is. There is still a lot of releases that came out in 2020, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so those are our selections for 1988. Feel free to share yours on social media. And so until next time, this is Mackenzie Lambert.
And John Cleveland.
Signing off.
Bye.
Hey folks, Mackenzie Lambert here, host for Making the Movies, joined by my colleague John Cleveland.
Hi, everybody.
This is going to be another episode of the Three Tenors, and of course, since this is Halloween weekend, what better topic than vampires?
Spooky season, after all.
And so we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Rob Hill's top 10 movie list and his list for vampires.
This will be interesting.
Yeah, let's go ahead and see what his intro is first. Thanks largely to the Twilight series of novels by Stephanie Meyer. I don't know. No. Already off to a bad start. Vampires have experienced something of a renaissance. Are they? Did they ever really leave?
Disagree.
Yeah, they never left.
Strongly disagree.
Yeah. Okay, but for those who think the blood-sucking succubus is best personified by the likes of Edward Cullen or Bill Compton, no. Read on for some even more interesting immortals, as none of its characters made this list. Special mention must be made here for Near Dark, one of the most popular revisionist vampire movies among fans.
That's fair. They were in my honorable mentions. I unfortunately just had to edge them out, but I regret doing so in hindsight.
All right, let's go ahead and see here for his list. Let's see, number 10. This shouldn't be a surprise. Edward Cullen from the Twilight films. Rob Pattinson. Let's just move on.
No comment.
Yeah. Oh, God. Okay. Okay. Number 9. Martin from George A. Romero's Martin.
Is he a vampire?
That's the question of the movie.
Yeah, so I'll accept it because it's an interesting take, and it's a movie I generally do think just needs a little bit more eyes on it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I stayed away from is this really a vampire or isn't it kind of on my list. So, it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. Number 8. Carmela Karnstein, Vampire Lovers.
Yeah.
I've actually never seen this one. Is
Old Hammer, if I'm correct. Yeah. Although the movie's been remade several times based on the Carmilla myth, obviously. The Hammer film was alright. It's not Hammer's best work by any means. To be honest with you, a lot of the Carmilla stories' interest really will spawn from the fact that it's a lesbian story, especially because it's an older story, so it's obviously a little bit more taboo at the time.
Okay.
But it's worth a watch. It's also, I'm kind of noticing a pattern that he's developing here of lesser known, weird vampires, because she's also not like, she is a bloodsucker, but in some stories it's more like she's an emotional vampire. So interesting. Another interesting take.
All right, number 7, Count Dracula, but this is Count Dracula from Love at First Bite, played by George Hamilton.
I mean, I've got a comedy one in there too, so okay, it's fine. I would never have put him in the top 10, but it is what it is.
Number 6, Jerry Dandridge from Fright Night.
All right, so I'm going to take guff from this, and one of my friends a couple of my friends love this. I like Fright Night. I do not love Fright Night. He is awesome in Fright Night. I think that's one of his best roles, and that's coming from the man's career full of really interesting roles. But yeah, he did not make it on my list. But, I respect that he's there.
Okay, number 5, Count Dracula, played by Bela Lugosi.
The OG.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets an honorable mention from me because I'm like, he set the bar pretty high, but I just had to get him out of the honorable mention because, what is it, 60, 70, 80 years old now? It's one of those things where, like, it's aged out of itself. It's not a horror film anymore. It's just a classic film.
Yep.
So,
let's see, number 4, Eli from Let the Right One In.
that's going to be on my list. Now, wait. I have to ask, what year is that one that he's talking about?
2008.
Okay, good. All right, we're good. Just so we're clear, I don't think the remake is that bad. I just think it was unnecessary.
All right, number 3, Miriam Baylock for The Hunger, played by Catherine Deneuve.
Almost made the list. I actually almost just put David Bowie as a vampire because that's cool.
Yeah.
But no, the Hunger's a great movie. I do warn anyone who hasn't seen it. It's got a really awesome couple of scenes and a very awesome idea. It, however, probably could have been shortened a bit, and it's definitely something where I think it's a better book than a movie.
All right. Number 2, Count Dracula, played by Christopher Lee.
Okay, yeah. The OG. He gets an honorable mention from me, but I love me some Hammer horror. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
If one of the reasons that I didn't put Bella on there is because, in my opinion, he's the one that set the mold for everyone else.
Yep.
Like, first one with fangs, first one where you see blood, like, first one where he's demonic in any way or connected to the occult, first one where he's pure evil. Like, but at the same time,
and those bloodshot eyes.
He's mean. But at the same time, it's at this stage where you watch him and you're like, it's a little too old anymore, and I don't know if I buy it anymore and stuff. But Christopher Lee is the man. So what do you say?
Yep. And number 1, this should not be a surprise, Graf Orlok from Nosferatu.
I knew that he was going to do that. I just knew it. I'm like, that pretentious guy is totally going to have Nosferatu as number 1. So
still, it's an iconic look. When your name is Max Schreck, of course you're going to play monsters. So
so he's on my list. I'll give you that because it's the look above everything. Yep. He's the original, older than anything per se. But at the same time, how much character work went into that? You know what I'm saying? Like and it's not his fault. It's the limitations of the era he's in. So he is on my list. I'll cop to that, but I wouldn't have had him as number 1 personally.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't go that far.
There's also I'm going to say there's 2 glaring omissions from his list. Painfully glaring omissions.
Yeah.
The fact where there's a Cullen on that list, and I'm not going to, because they're high on my list. I'm not going to say you'll get to know what they are when I say my list. But how in the world 2 of the people on the big ones aren't on that list is a little disturbing to me.
Yeah. So. Okay. Now you got me intrigued. Okay, John, let's go ahead and go for your list.
Now I talked it up. So, all right. So number 10 is my comedy because I think that show a little versatility and stuff. I love this movie. I know it gets some hate. Really comes down to what your opinion is of the good movies that Mel Brooks made or the bad movies that he made, and I think it's one of the good ones. Spoiler alert. So that means it's Leslie Nielsen as Count Dracula in Dracula, Dead and Loving It.
Yeah.
It's Leslie, not at his best, but almost at his best. It's again, it's not my favorite Mel Brooks movie, but I really enjoy it.
Yep.
It's just making fun of the genre in the way that only Mel Brooks and Leslie Nielsen could. So it's my comedy one on here.
And with those two being comedic giants, I think that's the first time they worked together.
Yes.
That late. So
yeah. So it's just obviously it's mostly harping on Bram Stoker's Dracula film, but it's just a hilarious film in my opinion, and it brings to light all the idiosyncrasies of the Dracula myth. So it's just good. Number 9 is William Dafoe as Nosferatu from Shadow of the Vampire.
Yep.
Which is a highly underrated vampire film. If you have never seen it, I highly suggest it. Because this thing, most of us have seen Nosferatu, or at least seen the clips enough to know, because there's, it's not a long movie by any stretch. So this is basically somebody made a movie under, what if that was real? And the director actually went on and got an actual vampire to play him. And it sets this mythos for itself.
Yep.
And it's just a really good movie full of really good actors.
Produced by Nicolas Cage, which explains a lot.
Somehow produced by Nicolas Cage, which should make you want to watch it more. So William Dafoe is just morose in it as a vampire. It's very interesting.
Yes.
It's a very interesting film. Number 8, the character he's playing is Max Schreck as Count Orlok in Nosferatu in New Symphony des Guan. And if you speak that French, I apologize, because that was German.
Yep.
I apologize. Oh, wow, that's horrible. I thought it was French.
As if the French don't hate us enough already.
Seriously. Or the Germans. That's just Nosferatu, a Symphony of Horror from 1922. The OG. Nothing's older that we have any real proof of. He got on my list because I I skewed to more modern tellings and more what I call interesting vampires as opposed to classic.
Yeah.
So I basically had to have him on it. I had to have or Bella or Christopher Lee, and I just chose him as the oldest. So that's how that goes. Number 7, hard right turn. Wesley Snipes is Blade from Blade.
Nice.
One I definitely think should have been on his list, but
Yeah.
I can accept that it isn't if you're not into the idea of vampires as an action thing. From this point on, a lot of my choices will be based on, actually, except for one, will be based on the character is interesting, the character looks really cool, or they bring something new to the idea.
Yep.
But Blade, I mean, arguably the beginning of Marvel's cinematic universe.
And it made comic book movies cool again.
Yeah. But it's just awesome. Wesley Snipes is perfect casting.
And just that opening, that intro scene.
Yeah. All right. Number 6 is my... I refuse to explain why this is on my list if you don't already know. Selma Hayek as Santanico Pandemonium and From Dusk Till Dawn. She's only in the movie for, I think, a total of 5 minutes. It don't matter.
Nope.
No. I love From Dusk Till Dawn. It's one of my favorite vampire movies. And,
I think a lot of people went into their entered manhood from that scene.
Oh, that dance. I also love how Roger Rodriguez, I don't know what debt he owed to Quentin Tarantino, but having Selma Hayek
foot fetish in
shove her foot and pour tequila down her leg into his mouth, that meant, to this day, Quentin Tarantino must owe him like a life debt.
Yep.
So, that is what it is. But she's even cool when she transforms in like a creature. Like it's not just that she's an incredibly attractive woman. There's some interest there. Also, if you like the TV series, the short-lived TV series, it expands on her character a bit. Number 5, halfway through the list here, Lena Lenderson as Ellie.
Okay.
In Let the Right Ones In. As I mentioned, it was also on my list. I prefer the original. I don't have a problem that Hollywood decided to remake it because Americans don't like subtitles or dubbing, but it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
The original has some more intense stuff, and again, these ones the characters are interesting. So, like, if you watch that, especially, again, you got to watch the original. There's a lot about her being a child, an immortal child, that isn't brought into the American, that is, I'm not going to go into, but is really messed up, that you really should watch if you haven't seen it. But I feel like if you know about it, you've probably seen it. Mm-hmm. So, number 4, this was hard. It's a movie full of vampires, and I had to choose one. I decided I wasn't going to have it. Jason Patric is Michael in The Lost Boys.
All right, yeah.
I was going to do David. But realistically, Michael's transformation, his slow... that is the most compelling story. It's also... I think I'm going to say... I think he's the most compelling I'm becoming a vampire in the transition as a story. Because that's a story told again and again in a vampire movie. But I honestly think that's probably the best one.
Yeah.
So... number 3... Tony Curran as Marcus Corvinus in Underworld Evolution, the second Underworld movie. They, for all the faux Matrix action that the Underworld series are, I gotta say the myths they're bringing, they brought some interesting stories there. And when he reveals himself and he has the bat wings and stuff, I'm like, this is awesome. He's such a menacing force. Yep. He looks very cool. Like, if that guy was after me, I'd be terrified. And that's really what a vampire should be. And he's full-on bat. He's full-on evil. Everything works.
And damn good actor, too, because, gosh, any Whovian who's worth their weight in gold will remember him as Vincent Van Gogh.
Oh, yeah, 100%. So, yeah, I think he's a highly underrated actor.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, Underworld Evolution, it's that movie? Like, really? Yeah, really. All right. Number 2, and this is the one of 2 I have no idea how it's not on his list, although I'm surprised. Tom Cruise is Lestat de Lioncourt in Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah, that's literally the personification of Anne Rice's writing.
And my favorite fact about that is Anne Rice picketed the movie when she found out that they cast Tom Cruise. She went on TV shows talking about how this is my work and they cast Tom Cruise is never going to work Lestat. It's an incorrect casting. I want my name removed from this. Then they're like, just watch the movie. She watches it. She's like, 100%, he's the perfect actor. No one can do it better. He is Lestat. And like, I am not a fan of Tom Cruise, and that is just, he is amazing as Lestat. I don't care what anyone says. Recasting him when they did
Queen of the Damned.
Queen of the Damned was the biggest mistake. And number one, and again, how did he not put this on his list? Gary Oldman is Count Dracula and Bram Stoker's Dracula. He's everything. We don't see his. We see his transformation, how he becomes for love.
Yep.
We see him as a grotesque bat creature, and at one point a werewolf creature. We see all the mystical and supernatural powers. We see him as a tormented figure. We see him as a demonic evil figure that's like, we see him from so many points of view. He is such a robust character, and he's Gary Oldman. The man should have gotten an Oscar.
Yeah.
Half that cast should have gotten an Oscar.
Oh, except Keanu.
Except Keanu. Poor Keanu. It's just, it's a perfect example of I'm not going to say a good actor. He's not. He gets lucky with a lot of his roles. But, like, how the flaws of an actor really get brought out when you surround them with amazing actors.
And it's like, you had Carrie Ellis, who could have been John Harper instead.
Yeah. Why did you have to do this? I mean, everyone in that movie was amazing. Tom Waits as Renfield is, it's so good.
You had Bill Campbell from The Rocketeers or Texan with a Bowie knife.
Yeah, like, everyone else in that movie could have been him, but it is what it is. Yeah. But yeah, either way, Gary Oldman is amazing, and it really disturbs me that he did not include it in his list.
Yeah.
Best vampire of all time, in my opinion. So, that's my list.
Good list.
Thank you.
Okay, starting off with mine. Number 10, Lilith, played by Angie Everhart from Bordello of Blood. Kind of the same thing with Selma Hayek. She was that very...
Sure.
Yep.
I chose Selma Hayek in mind. Yeah. What am I going to do, criticize you at this point?
But not also to the idea that not just to stick through the heart, but you got to cut her heart into 4 pieces.
Yeah.
Little extra length.
I want them to remake that movie with, like... I almost think it would have worked a lot better, and I hate to say this because I love Tales from the Crypt, not as a Tales from the Crypt movie.
Yeah.
Also, get Dennis Miller just right out of there.
Yeah. Bill Burr? Sure, let's see that movie.
Sure, yeah.
All right, number 9, actually. This will be a bit of a surprise. Bram Stoker's Dracula, Count Dracula, Gary Oldman.
Had to be on your list.
Yep. For all the reasons you said, and the idea that you have this vampire... It made him sympathetic, which I don't really care for the whole sympathetic angle, but that... Hey, it works for what they're doing.
Yeah. Also, the connection, between him and the story of Vlad the Impaler.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Number 8, Max Schreck, played by Willem Dafoe for Shadow of the Vampire.
I'm just noticing a couple similarities there.
Yep. Okay, number 7, Count Dracula, played by Bela Lugosi, but for Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein.
Really?
Yes, just because this is his last time in the role. This is sort of his farewell before he kind of fell into the trappings of Ed Wood. And
okay. Be honest with you, and I mean, you got some extra here to finish this. I was this close to thinking, you're going to pull out that obscure thing and mention that the Spanish actor who played it in the Spanish version, which a lot of people think are better than that.
I've heard that too, yep.
So, all right, well, let's see.
Yep. Okay, number 6, Severin, played by Bill Paxton for Near Dark.
Yeah, I regret not putting it up. I would have done Lance Henriksen, though, because I love Lance Henriksen.
But just that scene in the bar where Bill Paxton just cuts loose.
You're not wrong.
No. And 2, it was... For a lot of people, The Lost Boys, that's their childhood vampire movie. For me, Near Dark is the one that I kind of associate with that.
It's an amazing movie, and it's sad that Bill Paxton dying is what caused it to finally get like, hey, you should pay attention to this role in this movie. So yeah, I get it.
Number 5, Count Dracula, played by Christopher Lee, just Hammer in general.
Sure. Do you have a favorite? Which movie?
If I had to pick one, Satanic Rites of Dracula.
That's my favorite.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, here's one that I was actually surprised that was neglected. Number 4, I don't remember the name of the actor, but it's Count Dracula from the Monster Squad.
You know what? They're in my honourable mentions because I really thought that he's suave, he's debonair, and it's weird. He's that theater scary where like he's Bella scary. There's no blood really. He doesn't look demonic and all, but when he does that thing, I'm like, oh wow, that actually can work. That actually can be scary.
And you got the lives of children in danger, which raises the stakes.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, number 3, Here we are with Count Orlok, played by Max Schreck, for Nosferatu.
I knew it was going to have to be on the list.
Yep. Number 2, I know we had a little bit of debate of, well, do we really want to include this character or not? I picked Martin, played by John Amplis, for George Romero's Martin.
When I wrote my list, I'm like, Mac's going to put Martin.
Yes. Yep. And just this is how you do a sympathetic vampire, because here's this kid who was raised in this weird, volatile environment, thinking that he's like a centuries-old vampire when he's really probably just a confused kid.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anything, I view that movie as more not a vampire story. It's a mental illness story. But, I mean, it is.
Yeah.
He craves blood, and, I get it. So, yeah.
And my number 1, Janos Skorzeny, played by Barry Atwater for The Night Stalker, the TV series that introduced Carl Kolchak.
Okay. I didn't see that coming. Okay.
And you look at the vampires from like 30 Days of Night, the basic feral, vicious creature, this is the blueprint. Janos Skorzeny is that vicious, monstrous...
Bestial.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot... You know what I was surprised about in doing some research on this? How... And I guess it didn't surprise me. It's just one of those things where, like, I kind of assumed there'd be a lot. When you look up vampire movies, there are so many. Like, we literally could have easily written an entire list of just people that played Dracula.
Yeah.
But there are so many different vampires. You could write a list of the top 10 vampire movies you like that aren't real vampires. Like Martin, is not. Like, how many things are not real? This is an addiction, but he's addicted to... Like, there's apparently, like, a movie out there that I found. I can't remember the title of it off the top of my head. It's about somebody who's addicted to a drug. I think it might be heroin. They use some other term for it. But not directly. He needs to drink the blood of somebody injected with the drug. So, to, like, diffuse it or something. I don't know quite how it works. But, like, it's, like, this weird, like, there's so many different ways you can take this idea of vampirism. So.
Yeah.
So. Very, very interesting. I also wanted to point out some honorable mentions that there's Sheila Vand as the girl from A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night.
Oh, yeah.
Not quite enough to tip my top 10, but a movie that I think a lot more people need to see. Again, another comedy. John C. Reilly is Larton Crepsley in Circus de Freak, the Vampire's Assistant. A movie I desperately wish had gotten a sequel, but it's too late now. Because we had a lot of preteen actors, and they're too old now. It was a fun movie.
You could also pretty much go with any character from What We Do in the Shadows.
And What We Do in the Shadows is the next one. Another one that it was so hard not to put on my list. But yeah, that was actually... I have What We Do with the Shadows. Any of the characters on that are hilarious.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy, even as Maximilian in Vampire in Brooklyn, is worth it. Matilda May and Space Girl and
I can't believe I
Force.
actually forgot one of my regular picks too. It's Marie from Innocent Blood. I can't believe I've mentioned her so many times in other lists.
Yeah,
if not here.
And then the one that absolutely bothers me that no one mentioned, the Count from Sesame Street.
Yeah, he wasn't Follow That Bird, so yeah, he does count as a movie character.
Yep. 100%. Arguably one of the most famous vampires of all time. Yep. And it bothers me that he's also canon specific to a very specific trait vampires used to have, where they were like OCD about counting things.
Oh yeah, like the Jiangshi, where if you leave a thing of rice, they've got to count each and
every single bean.
rice.
Like, seriously, in old mythology, if a vampire was chasing you, you were supposed to take beans or sand from your hand and throw them at the ground, and they would be impulsively to stop and count them. And actually, I almost tried to fit jumping vampires, Chinese jumping vampires in here, but I couldn't quite find a movie that I liked. I like a lot of bad movies that they're in, but no good movies.
The only one I can think of is probably like one of the Ninja, the Violent Sorcerer from Godfrey Ho.
That's
pretty much
it.
So.
But it's a very versatile story that you can lay a lot on.
Yeah.
And it bothers me that he used one of his picks for Edward Cullen.
Yeah.
And I'm not even harping on the Twilight series any more than everyone else already has. It's just that there are so many better options. Why did you do this? But it is what it is.
Alright, so those are our lists for our top movie vampires. Feel free to let us know what yours are in the comments below or on social media. We always like to hear what your thoughts are. I'd like to hear you contribute to the conversation.
Absolutely. Give us a like if you really thought we should have included the Count from Sesame Street.
All right, so that's going to wrap up this list. Until next time, this is Mackenzie Lambert.
And John Cleveland.
Signing off.
Bye.
Mackenzie Lambert here, joined by my good friend John Cleveland.
Hi, everybody.
We have a new segment for you.
I'm excited.
Yeah, this is going to be a little segment we call Character Actor Corner, where we spotlight the different Joes and Jills who have not exactly been the lead roles, but they're those people where it's like, you see their face and like, oh, I've seen that one before in that other movie we saw 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, somebody, I always view character actors as trying to explain it as somebody who's, you know, maybe occasionally the big bad villain, but most of the time they're a henchman. Sometimes they're a sidekick. They're, you know, I think the term lesser known could be thrown, even if some of these guys maybe aren't lesser known. But let's be honest, most of the time they're not the hero.
Always a bridesmaid, but never a bride.
Well put.
Yeah. All right, and so we figure for the first one, we would go ahead and do actor we just lost recently, Mr. Fred Ward.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when it was reported on Friday the 13th, oddly enough. That was first reported. This was when I was at a trivia show for John Carpenter's They Live. I threw together a quick memorial slide, and then when we did the show and the slide came up, there were people in the audience who were like, no! Yeah. Like they didn't know that
He's
it
beloved.
happened. Yeah.
He's beloved. Which is proof that even somebody who's a character actor, somebody who's not known for being a leading man or woman, can invoke that.
Yep.
So.
All right, so some really quick details first on Fred Ward. He was born Freddie Joe Ward.
Okay.
Born in San Diego, California on December 30th, 1942. Before acting, Ward spent 3 years in the United States Air Force. He was also a boxer, worked as a lumberjack in Alaska, a janitor, a short order cook. I want to see this biopic.
Seriously. Like, this is an awesome biopic for Fred Ward.
Yeah.
Man of 1,000 Faces.
Who would you have play Fred Ward?
I would...
I might go with Bruce Campbell.
No, dude, too old.
Really?
Also, I don't want to choose...
Yeah, that is true.
I almost... Okay, so if we're casting a biopic of Fred Ward, I almost feel it's like disingenuous not to choose a lesser-known actor.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
So I think I would have to... You can't throw me on the spot like that. I can't name somebody off the top of my head. I would require a computer in front of me and a couple hours to really pick, because I'm like that. I would need to find the perfect casting.
Okay, no, that's fair enough.
But like, I would watch that movie though. He
Yeah.
has a very interesting life. I knew he was in the. It's clear by how he. I feel like it's clear by how he carries himself that he's either ex-military or the boxing makes total sense.
Yeah, broke his nose 3 times apparently, so it's like he's got that Randall Tex Cobb.
Oh yeah, we can do a top 10 list of ex-boxers actors. In all fairness, but. And by the way, we're doing Randall Tex Cobb as a character. It's happening, man.
Yep.
All right.
He studied acting at New York's Herbert Berghoff studio after serving in the Air Force.
Okay.
He actually lived in Rome, and that's where he got his start in movies, was doing English dub for Italian movies.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's interesting.
He returned to America in the 1970s and just dove right into Hollywood. His theatrical film debut for Hollywood was Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood.
Oh, yeah, he's in that, isn't he?
Yep. Yeah. Remained as part of the industry throughout the 80s and 90s and kept going until his death in May 8th, 2022, but it wasn't reported until Friday, May 13th.
Okay.
All right. What are, let's see, we picked out 3 picks for the actors. So, John, if you want to share us with your 3 picks?
To be honest with you, I would be very kind of surprised that these aren't going to be the same between you and I. And probably, let's be honest, the same with most of the character actors. I feel they are going to be our favorite picks are probably going to be the ones everybody knows them from. I will say that, are we doing like honorable mentions? Are we?
I don't have any honorable mentions. I just
Okay.
picked 3 roles that I think
That's
people
fair.
should see.
I do actually have some honorable mentions.
Okay.
These are, it's unlike me. I'm normally like, honorable mentions might be, to pick a different day. No, these are pretty clear. Like, these are good roles that I think, if you're a really good fan of Fred Ward, maybe you should go check out. He's in Thunderheart from 1992, which is a Val Kilmer movie, and it's very good, a highly underrated film. Uncommon Valor, with just a delightful cast from Gene Hackman to Reb Brown.
Yeah, Powers Booth, I believe.
No, I don't think.
No.
I don't think Powers Booth
Or
is
am I
in
thinking
that.
Southern Comfort?
You're thinking of Southern Comfort,
okay.
which he was also in Southern Comfort.
All those, rednecks versus soldiers
Yeah.
always just blend together.
They really do. And then, although Uncommon Valor isn't Rednecks versus, it's a Vietnam revenge film basically. Okay. And then the last honorable mention, he's in Naked Gun 33 and a Third, The Final Insult.
Yep.
So all right. But my 3, and again, I kind of feel like these are going to be your 3 in maybe a different order. Number 3, Cast a Deadly Spell.
Yeah.
1991, the best you've never heard of it Lovecraft movie of all time.
And probably also one of the best made-for-TV movies ever made as well.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yep.
It definitely is. If you're a fan of Lovecraft, if you're a fan of film noir, those detective stories.
Sam Spade.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Big Sleep.
Chinatown.
Yep.
I suggest you check it out. It does suffer from its budget, but it's worth it. Number 2, Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins.
Yep.
1985, an Oscar-winning film for
Yellowface.
For the Yellowface. It's a great makeup job. They do really well with the actor turning him into Korean, but it is a little difficult that they just cast a white guy and put him in makeup to be a Korean sensei.
Yep.
If you can get over that, it's a very weird little movie because it's based on a series of books. But what I can tell you about this, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's a hell of a lot of fun. And it's got one of the best fight scenes that you will literally never see again. Because there's a fight scene on the scaffolding of the actual Statue of Liberty. And there's just no way that's ever going to happen again.
And also, too, the director, Guy Hamilton, he did some of the best Bond films.
Yes. I mean, the movie's, it's a movie full of character actors. Like, I could just go on and list
Mike Pataki. There's another one, yeah.
Wilford Brimley's in the movie. Yep. So, and a pre-Voyager Janeway. Yep. It's a great film.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of fun. And I'd like to point out, for character actor, it's finding interesting that the 3 movies on my list, he's all the lead or co-lead of, which you don't see with character actors too often, but still. Number 1, I have a tie. I tend not to do ties, but it's important for this one.
Yep.
Tremors 1 and Tremors 2. And the reason instead of making them 2 on the list, bumping out Cast a Deadly Spell, it's because, to me, for Fred Ward's character of Bert, it is one story arc. Because although he triumphs along with Kevin Bacon in the first film, Kevin actually gets out of perfection and, gets married, has a life.
Yep.
And Fred's character of Bert doesn't, and I love Tremors, let me be very clear. Tremors is one of my favorite horror films, favorite creature features of all time. But it is worth noting that if you watch it enough and you really study it, Fred Ward's character, like everyone, they just survive, and that's really all you're looking for. But, it's weird that you have co-leads with him and Bacon survives, but then also, finds love. So I view Tremors 2, which I think is also very good, where Fred Ward is the main character, as the true completion of his story because, spoiler alert, he finds love.
Yep.
So, I think that both of them are equal, if at least for Fred Ward, in their importance. So for me, that's my list.
Yeah, okay. My picks for my 3. Number 3, Joe Dirt. He plays Joe Dirt's real father. I wouldn't recommend this, but it's Fred Ward just having fun.
I mean, it is. I don't hate Joe Dirt. It's a movie that loudly proclaims, listen, shut up, watch this, have fun.
Yep.
Don't try to think, we're not looking for an Oscar here, folks.
Yeah.
And you're right. He definitely is that movie, and I'll give you that. It's just not the top 3 that I thought you were going to pick.
Just change of pace.
That's fair.
And my number 2, also Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins.
It's a great film.
Yes, very much so. And my number 1, just Cast a Deadly Spell.
I knew that was going to be your number 1.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit for horror fans? Because you've got zombies, werewolves,
witches,
gargoyles,
warlocks.
Witches. You've got
interdimensional demons.
Yes, you've got the old ones. You've got a scene where it rains blood, literally.
Isn't there a unicorn in that movie? I think there is.
I couldn't say it, but you've got the Kurgan, you've got Clancy Brown in it.
Oh, yes.
You've got David Warner, who we also lost just past as well.
Both these actors are character actors, yeah.
Julianne Moore.
Not a character actor.
No, but her in some of those outfits.
Oh, no, Julianne Moore. Oof.
I want some more.
One of my favorite, if not my favorite actress of all time.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, so that was this short little segment of Character Actor Corner on Fred Ward.
Yeah.
Tune in next time because we are going to be talking about the one and only Reb Brown.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Oh, there's going to be a list.
Better buckle up for that one.
Oh, I have opinions. I have statements to make. Tune in, folks.
All right, on that note, we're going to go ahead and sign off on this segment. I'm Mackenzie Lambert.
And I'm John Cleveland.
Have a good day, folks.
Bye.